How he lived, what Byron was up to, who he was and what they had to do to catch him. If she told all those stories, she wouldn't have time even if she stayed up all night. I think there was a secret passage through here. Isla had never used it, so she never entered it, but she had found the entrance to the secret passage the first time she entered this room in her previous life. He had kept it in mind in the hope that it would help Byron's plan. However, it didn't help him much the day he returned to the past, as Byron had confidently walked through the front door disguised as a doorman. This statue. I think it would have been nice to twist it like this. Isla twisted the hand of the angel statue adorning the wall. Then, the wall itself rotated, revealing a door leading to a passageway. I wish it was connected to the room where my parents are. He entered the hallway with a small candelabra on the table. Turning the handle inside the hallway, the space where the door had been was transformed into a simple wall decoration. As Isla walked through the labyrinthine hallways, with the help of a small candle, she began to fear that she would get lost and wander there for the rest of her life. But he tried to erase that thought and, trusting his memory and instincts, he walked in the direction of the Duke and Duchess's room. How long did it take to walk like that? He was startled when he saw the mirror hanging in the hallway. Why the hell would there be a mirror in a place like this? But upon closer inspection, he saw that it was not a mirror, but a portrait. She had no idea who or how had painted it like that, but as soon as she saw the chair in front of the portrait, her eyes lit up. The thought of one of her parents, or perhaps both, sitting in that chair looking at her daughter's portrait brought tears to her eyes. And somehow, he felt like he had come to the right place. Isla was sure this must be her parents' bedroom. As Isla looked for the handle that opened the wall, a voice came from inside the bedroom. Due to the thickness of the walls, he couldn't hear much, but it seemed like his parents were talking about something. "I'm sorry I didn't warn you in advance, Ophelia. I made my own decisions." "No. I was already considering hiring more maids, because I felt bad leaving Laura alone to care for Isla. Baron Herzig and his family are famous for their kindness." At first glance, it seemed like they were talking about bringing Lisa in as a maid. Now that her parents' story seemed to be over, Isla put her hand on the doorknob to open it. "That's when. You saw it too, right?" It was Isla's hand. Ophelia's voice sounded angry. "My hand?" Isla panicked and quickly lowered the hand that had been gripping the knob. He didn't understand what the hell he had in his hand that had made his mother so angry. "Do you mean calluses?" "Yes, I was also surprised to see them in Herzig's territory. They looked like the hands of a long-trained knight. What the hell did he make that girl do?" Ophelia burst into tears, saying that it was heartbreaking to see the girl's hands covered in calluses and old scars, which should have been soft and tender for a long time. Isla looked at her hand with an embarrassed expression. It was undoubtedly rough, unlike the noble lady's hands. Who knew that hand would break his parents' hearts? Now that she thought about it, she remembered that in her past life, when she held her hand for the first time, Roderick looked at her silently for a long time. Maybe it was something he couldn't understand anymore. He thought that Roderick, in his previous life, might have recognized Isla as a trained assassin. She excused herself, saying that they were the calluses she had gotten from growing up as a commoner and helping in the fields, but didn't her father, an expert in swordsmanship, know about her lies? Even though he knew she was lying, he accepted it without saying anything because she was his own daughter. Because she was his daughter. He must have believed that his daughter would never hurt him. When Isla thought of her past self, who had betrayed that trust, she felt her heart tear. No, it was not the time to regret the mistakes of his past life. It was time to join forces with her parents and condemn those who had shaped her that way. It was not too late to atone for the foolishness he had committed, even after he had killed Byron. Isla grabbed the knob and turned it hard. Where the wall used to be, it had become a passageway, with a creaking sound just like in his room. "Isla? How did you get through that passage? Although there was no time to tell them about the secret passage, the couple were startled to see their daughter suddenly appear and looked at her. Shoo. Isla put her index finger to her lips. If someone from the outside found out that he was there secretly, and if that person was Byron's spy, everything would be ruined. Someone could be eavesdropping. Yes. I thought you would be tired, so I planned to talk about it tomorrow, but I didn't know you would be here. I would have called you when the time came. Ophelia looked at Isla's complexion with a worried expression. It's okay, Mother. I'm in shape. She was born strong, and since she trained since she was little, she didn't get tired easily. Having traveled the country with Byron, he had developed an aversion to long carriage rides. Come here and sit down. Roderick pointed to a long armchair in the room. Isla stumbled into the couple's bedroom, feeling as if she were being treated with excessive hospitality for a daughter who had suddenly barged in uninvited and through a secret passage. The bedroom smelled of his parents' scent. Of course, Ophelia's sweet floral scent mingled with Roderick's, like the winter scent of trees. He took a deep breath and inhaled the scent of his parents, something he hadn't noticed before. His Highness the Crown Prince told us the general story. For example, what purpose did Byron have for you? And I also know that you learned swordsmanship in Cloud Air. As he took a deep breath and struggled to open his mouth, Roderick spoke first. Yes, Father. Isla opened her mouth, her hair tangled in her hands, her expression anxious. It was quite painful to confess the years he had grown up believing Byron was his father. I believed he was my biological father and I lived only to avenge him. But, it turned out that she wasn't his biological daughter. She tried to tell her parents in a calm voice, not wanting to worry them, but strangely, the tears fell as if her tear ducts had burst. When did you find out about that? Ophelia asked, wiping her daughter's tears with her sleeve. Her teeth were chattering as she thought of the betrayal her little daughter must have felt when she realized she had been deceived her entire life. A year and a little more. Although she was a little worried about her mother's sleeve getting dirty, Isla obediently accepted her touch. It was the first time she was treated like a child, so she felt a little uncomfortable, but somehow, it was a hand that made her feel safe. I was only 12 years old. A shocking secret, too much for a girl of only 12 to bear. Ophelia suppressed her rising anger and exchanged glances with her husband. Roderick had an icy expression on his face, but behind his calm eyes, a terrifying anger burned. Can I ask how you knew? At her father's question, Isla hiccuped without realizing it. He thought it was a question he would hear one day. And one day, she was ready to confess everything that had happened. But that wasn't the case now. Not yet, because I wasn't mentally ready. At least he couldn't say anything until Byron, the mastermind behind all of this, was held accountable. Is it embarrassing to say it? Closing her mouth with a confused expression, Ophelia asked in a worried voice. Isla nodded slowly. If she were a good liar, she could have made up a reasonable excuse that her parents would accept, for example, that she had overheard Cloud and Byron's conversation. But I didn't want to do it. It was impossible to lie to his parents. Someday, I will definitely tell you. And I would seek forgiveness for having committed patricide, no matter how much Byron had deceived her. Then his parents would have forgiven him without hesitation. Just like in his past life. She still vividly remembered her father's face, looking at her lovingly even as he died in his daughter's arms, as if it were yesterday. Yes, say it when you're ready. Wait without rushing me. Her mother hugged Isla and her father gently stroked her back. Those words were warm and comforting.